When Susan had breast cancer, we heard a lot of lame remarks, but our favorite came from one of Susan's colleagues. She needed to visit Susan after the surgery, but Susan didn't feel like having visitors, and she said so. Her colleague's response? This isn't just about you. It's not, Susan wondered. My breast cancer is not about me. It's about you. The same theme came up again when our friend Katie had a brain aneurysm. She was in intensive care for a long time and finally got out and into a step-down unit. She was no longer covered with tubes and lines and monitors, but she was still in rough shape. A friend came and saw her and then stepped into the hall with Katie's husband, Pat. I wasn't prepared for this, she told him. I don't know if I can handle it. This woman loves Katie, and she said what she did because the sight of Katie in this condition moved her so deeply. But it was the wrong thing to say. And it was wrong in the same way Susan's colleague's remark was wrong. Susan has since developed a simple technique to help people avoid this mistake. It works for all kinds of crises. You got medical, legal, financial, romantic, even existential. She calls it the ring theory. You draw a circle. This is the center ring. In it, you put the name of the person at the center of the current trauma. For Katie's aneurysm, that's Katie. Now, you draw a larger circle around the first one. In that ring, you put the name of the person closest to the trauma. In the case of Katie's aneurysm, that's Katie's husband, Pat. Repeat the process as many times as you need to. In each larger ring, you put the next closest people. Parents and children become more distant relatives, intimate friends and smaller rings, less intimate friends and larger ones. When you are done, you have a kvetching order. One of Susan's patients found it helpful to tape it to a refrigerator. Here are the rules. The person in the center ring can say anything she wants to anyone, anywhere. She can kvetch and complain and whine and moan and curse the heavens and say, life is unfair and why me? That's the one payoff for being in the center ring. Everyone else can say those things too, but only to people in larger rings. When you're talking to a person in a ring smaller than yours, someone closer to the center of the crisis, the goal is to help. Listening is often more helpful than talking. But if you're going to open your mouth, ask yourself if what you are about to say is likely to provide comfort and support. If it isn't, don't say it. Don't, for example, give advice. People who are suffering from trauma don't need advice. They need comfort and support. So say, I'm sorry, or this must be really hard for you, or can I bring you a pot roast? Don't say, you should hear what happened to me, or here's what I would do if I were you, and don't say, this is really bringing me down. If you want to scream or cry or complain, if you want to tell someone how shocked you are or how icky you feel or whine about how it reminds you of all the terrible things that have happened to you lately, that's fine. Just do it to someone in a bigger ring. Comfort in, dump out. There was nothing wrong with Katie's friend saying she was not prepared for how horrible Katie looked, or even that she didn't think she could handle it. The mistake was that she said those things to Pat. She dumped in. Complaining to someone in a smaller ring than yours doesn't do any of you any good. On the other hand, being supportive to her principal caregiver may be the best thing that you can do for the patient. Most of us know this. Almost nobody would complain to the patient about none of us would complain to the patient about how rotten she looks. Almost no one would say that looking at her makes them think of the fragility of life and their own closeness to death. In other words, we know enough not to dump into the center ring. Ring theory merely expands that intuition and makes it more concrete. Don't just avoid dumping into the center ring, avoid dumping into any ring smaller than your own. Remember, you can say whatever you want if you just wait until you're talking to someone in a larger ring than yours. And don't worry, you'll get your turn in the center ring. You can count on it.